The Donut Bag is brought to you by Penn Highway Marketplace, the marketplace for vintage goods, quality collectibles, and handmade crafts. It's where I get all my sports memorabilia. Go to facebook.com/Penn Highway. That's facebook.com/PENNHWY and mention I sent you. I had many things prepared, but I'm just going to leave it to this tweet from Trey Essex, who former Steelers offensive lineman, who, by the way, dude, you said you do my show and then you backed out. So I'm still not happy with you, Trey Essex. But anyway, like he's going to see this. Anyway, this is a tweet from Trey Essex at 8:49 this morning. It's gotten to the point where I don't feel like complaining about the offense anymore. The ineptitude has worn me out. That's how I feel. I am fed up. I've had it. And I think I've already said at one point in the season I've given up, but I've had it with this offense and this team. I am sick and tired of 3 hours of watching and just being so angry. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why? This is oh my goodness. Somebody talk, because steam is about to get out of my head.
Who I really feel bad for are the people in the stands, because they're spending all this money. And yesterday it was rainy, you know what I mean? So it wasn't even good weather. It's soon going to be snowing.
Yeah, that's going to be me on Thursday. I already bought my plane ticket and everything. And I'm like, this is BS. Now I didn't even know if Kenny's going to be playing. Like, do we even have a shot?
You're coming to the game on Thursday. On Thursday night. You will be here, LeeAnn.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Well, let's check the weather. Let's check the Thursday weather. Oh, high of 48, but it will be sunny.
Yeah, but it's at 8 p.m., so it's going to be like 35 degrees.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bundle up.
Yeah, so you're the kind of people that I feel for, because it's like they're spending all this money, they're wasting all this time, going through all this traffic, all this stuff, and it's just a poor product. They're just putting a poor product out there.
I feel really bad for the players that are like performing, like Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt, and some of these players are whole kicking unit, like the special teams unit, you know what I mean? All these guys, Naj is improving. You see all these improvements in areas, and people like, I'm not saying the other guys aren't trying really hard, but whatever the failure, the breakdown is, I feel so bad for those guys that are like going above and beyond, and then it just every week it's out of their control. I mean, how much can TJ Watt do? I mean, thank God he and Alex won the week 2 game, but they can't win every game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Steelers defense on the Ravens or the Bengals or the Lions, they'd be almost undefeated. And I know that sounds like being over the top, but I mean, they're out there doing what they're doing. The Browns lead the NFL with 17 turnovers. Well, it cost them yesterday. Should have cost them against Indianapolis 2 weeks ago, but the refs bailed them out with 2 horrendous calls. When you lead the league in turnovers, it affects you. We lead the league in obtaining turnovers. We have the most, and yet we are mediocre at best, and our offense can't do anything. So the defense is giving this team every opportunity to succeed, and they keep falling on their faces. What did they give them for yesterday's performance? They gave them 211 total yards. Kenny Pickett, 10 of 16, 73 before he went out. Mitch Trubisky, a little bit better, 15 and 28 for 138 and a touchdown, but classic Mitch Trubisky, 2 interceptions that were bad. But, I mean, it's like, when is enough going to be enough? When is it going to be over? I mean, it's like week after week, and you see people, there's the blame Kenny, don't blame Kenny train. I still haven't seen it. It's been 20 games. I still don't see it. You saw Will Levis yesterday. Will Levis goes, 18 for 28 for 238 yards and 4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns.
Crappy offensive team, crappy offensive coordinator as well. He's doing it. I mean, the kid only can get so much time, as far as I'm concerned. He hasn't really impressed me. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. I'm not ready to write him off, but I mean, I just don't think he's very good. I think, watching that back, to me, it looks like he actually threw behind Deontay yesterday. I know Deontay slipped. If he leads him, maybe he gets picked. I don't know, but he needs to get that ball out of the hands quicker. There's just so much there. And I don't understand, maybe I do understand, I just don't want to say it, is they keep bringing Matt Canada back. He shouldn't have been brought back this year. from the day one, we've said no more excuses. And, I don't know. There's one key point. It wasn't even the key play of the game, but there's one point where Najee Harris, who was 7 carries for 13 yards yesterday. Najee Harris, 7 carries, 13 yards. He looked disgusted. And I think that's just the way they all feel. I mean, it's the way I feel, obviously the way Joe feels, and obviously the way you two feel. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And people
Deontay Johnson.
Go ahead, Allison.
Deontay Johnson said on Arthur Mote's podcast the other day, we don't like how the offense is going, but we respect Matt Canada. So
he said he spends a lot of time comforting Matt Canada.
Consoling him,
very bad for him in the way that he's treated by fans and the way people are talking about him. And he said, it doesn't really matter whether you like his play calls or not. We have to respect him because he's our offensive coordinator. Right. So, you can read between the lines there on that. You know what I mean? I saw it spun both ways. He's a man of few words. So he's a little like Mike Tomlin. It's hard to kind of parse out what he really means by something. But I was shocked by how defensive he was of look, like Matt Canada is a human being. I don't hate the man as like a human. Like that's ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? But I was shocked by like how personally Deontay seemed to take that,
Yeah.
How do you feel?
He said he felt like it was part of his job to go over and console him.
Okay. They know what's going on. They these guys aren't dumb. But at the same time, there are open receivers. There are open receivers from the opening drive, and Kenny Pickett is just not hitting them. Or he's hitting them at the wrong times, or he's not hitting them at all. And yes, Deontay could have made, and he even acknowledged himself. He's like, yeah, I had the drop. But come on, dude. You can't just show up in the fourth quarter. And I was actually happy yesterday. I'm like, oh, we're only down 1 score. Yay. We'll get fourth quarter, Kenny, and everything will be good, and we're going to win the game. Yay. Dude, you can't just show up in the fourth quarter.
No.
That was on Kenny Pickett. And there are people that blindly follow Kenny Pickett and say and will and defend him no matter what. A lot of that game was on him before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Well, if Kenny Pickett didn't go to Pitt, he'd be the second most hated man in Pittsburgh right now, behind Matt Canada. Let's be honest. Put our chips on the table. If you didn't go to Pitt, if you went to TCU or LSU or wherever, LA.
That's a great point.
He probably keeps defending Matt Canada because that's like his shield. Otherwise, all the focus would be like right on him. If they had like an offensive coordinator that could actually call plays, then it would just all be on Kenny.
But I mean, even when you have opposing players, the Jaguars linebacker Olukon, I can never say his name.
Yeah,
coming out there and saying it was predictable. We knew what you guys were doing.
Yes,
I mean, embarrassing.
Yes,
and it wasn't like he was being necessarily like a dick about it. He's just saying, I'm just telling you. We kind of figured out what you were doing, and I kind of made me think of, I remember the Titans, when Denzel Washington's character tells the other coach, he goes, I run 6 or 7 plays, but I run them effectively and I run them well. He only runs 6 or 7 plays, but you know what? I mean, I know it was a movie. I know. But we don't run our stuff effectively. I don't know how many plays Matt Canada has. My guess is the over-under is 20, but that's a joke. But whatever it is, they don't even run that effectively. Yeah. And I also, and it's good, LeeAnn, I also see what a lot of the Kenny defenders are saying. The offensive line isn't giving them a chance. The running game is not establishing itself. The play calling is predictable. So, I mean, it's like, and the Hayward, whatever that was in the end zone, like they don't use Hayward at all, right? So when they bring him in, what's going to happen? They're going to use him. Right. And they did, and the defense knew it because they're like, this guy's in here, and they never do that. And he try and make and it was abysmal. It was awful. Like field goal, like they had to kick a field goal. They were so close. Where was George Pickens at yesterday? Anyway, did he take a couple of the tight game off? He was invisible yesterday.
Yeah, it looked like
but there was one where he was open and Pickett missed him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry Dulac, who is very well connected I'm guessing to Rooney or someone in ownership or management. He has a chat every Tuesday or Wednesday. And this was from last week. Somebody said, do you think that finances have played any role in keeping Matt Canada this year? I mean, they would have had to pay the rest of his contract and then pay a new offensive coordinator to take his place, essentially paying for 2 offensive coordinators. Any thoughts on that possibility? And Jerry Dulac said, those are more than just thoughts. You mean to tell me they kept Matt Canada because they didn't want to pay another dude? Matt Canada can't be making that much money, and the Steelers can't be that hard up for money. You've got to be kidding me.
Right, yeah. They're definitely not hard up for money, but how they use it is they've always been cheap.
Always been cheap. That's not new. Yeah.
No. But in the NFL, I mean, we say cheap, you know what I mean? And for us, all this money is like just, oh my gosh.
Not
you know
by
what I mean?
my standards. Like,
exactly.
One ply toilet paper, but by NFL standards, Jerry Jones standards, they're cheap.
Yeah, it hasn't worked out for Jerry Jones for 28 years now, though. So,
no, it hasn't.
Yeah. I don't know, and it just seems like there's like this rising thing about bringing in DeAndre Hopkins or one of those guys, and I'm thinking, I don't think it's going to work. I mean,
no point.
It's tough because you can say, oh, well, the 4 of us, none of us really play. Well, no, we don't. But I get played through high school and stuff. I host the 5th quarter show. I call college or high school football for a long time. I still have. We know enough that we know there's a problem, and it's very clearly evident what that problem is. It's not the defense. It's clearly with this offense not jiving together, and not singling out Kenny Pickett. Just it's not working, and it hasn't been working, and everybody can see it. If so, the 4 of us can see it. I just don't understand how they can't. Iowa.
My blind grandmother can see it. So
yeah,
Iowa just a half an hour ago finally woke up and they said they are not going to retain Ferentz as offensive coordinator there through the bowl game this year. So he's done, and because their offense is a joke. Yeah, they're the Steelers of college football, and they
wear their uniforms. Yeah,
that's even harder because his dad's the head coach. So I don't know if they go and fire Canada tomorrow if it's going to fix anything, but
they're not going to. Well, everybody says even if they fire Canada, they're still just going to run his playbook. So maybe it would be better execution of said plays or better usage of those plays. Yeah. But I think the problem is bigger than any one person. Like I have been saying this all year, that it's not just Matt Canada that's an issue. It's Matt Canada and the offensive line and some stuff going on with Kenny Pickett and some stuff going on with the running backs. And sometimes the wide receivers aren't where they're supposed to be. Do you know what I mean? And Pat Fryermuth's hurt. I mean, there's like the issues, I think, just like keep compounding themselves and get bigger and bigger. So I don't believe that if we pulled Matt Canada out and plugged somebody new in, whether that was Mike Sullivan or somebody from the outside, that is going to change substantially this year. And the problem, you can't just say the problem is Kenny, like some people are, because you watch and the offensive line is terrible. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes it's clear it's not on him. Do you know what I mean? A lot of times. A lot of times,
and Isaac Seumalo,
crap, you know what I mean? And then that's there too. So
and Isaac Seumalo, like he's been like nowhere, like he's nothing right now.
Yeah,
and it's like he came from Philly where he was pretty darn good. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't like.
But Mason Cole was graded like 44.1 or something this past weekend. I mean, do you know what I mean? Seumalo can't do everything himself. Do you know what I mean? The offensive line breaks down, and it doesn't take much of a breakdown for it to fall apart. You only need one defender to get through.
Yeah. The offensive line coach and Canada both need to go this offseason. There's no doubt about that.
I love that. I think you're 100% right, and I think a lot of people questioned the promotion of that coach to offensive line coach to begin with, and that's why I say, you look at the Mike Tomlin coaching tree. It's not a very big tree. The branches don't go far, and honestly, I think that's part of the problem. You want to get rid of Canada, fine. I really feel like it's time. I think Mike Tomlin has run his course here. I think it's time for him to change. I mean, he's a great guy. He does a lot of great things, but he's just. I think it's time. They need I don't want to say it's rebuilding, but they need something new. It's time. It's kind of like when Chuck Noll retired. I remember it's like, oh no, what are we gonna do without Chuck Noll? What are we gonna do? I want this dude from the Browns, he's a special teams coach and a defense coordinator of the Chiefs, and Bill Cowher. Well, he's from Crafton. That makes it better. But you know what? It started changing around, and then Cowher leaves, and Tomlin came in. And he was a fresh breath of air there for a while. That probably needed to happen. But I just think that 17 years, it's just time. It's time to change it up, guys, because it's just not working. I mean, because to me, again, it's maybe it's the money thing, Joe. Great point. But to me, you still could have said, yeah, we have NFL money. Let's pay him and get somebody new in here, because I need somebody new with Kenny. I need somebody new in here with these new offensive linemen. I need somebody in here to work the receivers, because it didn't work last year.
You also make money if you win. You know what I mean? If you're not winning, you know what I mean? You make money if you win. So if it's all about the money and you're not winning, whether that's a new head coach or a new offensive coordinator, that old saying about spending money to make money.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, and I think it just hacks us off, because we have a defense that can stand toe-to-toe with any defense in the NFL and keep us in without the 49ers, keep us in just, although if they played the 49ers now, I don't know, but they could keep us in any game during the week. And we just, and then, you look at, I think Trey Essex, Joe, you were talking about Trey. I think he also tweeted something this morning about he had no doubt in his mind that Minka's injury was due to the fact that they were being out there for so long in the first quarter because we couldn't sustain a drive. 100%. That's what creates an injury like that. So, yeah, I mean, you're even, causing injury to these guys because they're trying so hard to make up for your anemic offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those turnovers and nothing. You know what I
mean? We've had, 7 games into this, and the defense basically won them 2 games. And the only way that you could keep that sustainable is if everybody on the defensive unit never gets hurt. And that's just not possible, especially when you leave them out there that long. It's just bound to happen. My goodness.
Allison, I think you posted, and I didn't get a chance to see any responses. I think you asked about possible trade. I mean, I know Patrick Surtain's been mentioned a little bit out there as a possible trade candidate. I mean, that would definitely help. But I don't know. I like Trent Brown from the Patriots too. We could shore up the offensive line. So
I think there's some good possibilities out there. I don't know if the Steelers will do it again with the cheap factor, but I think there's some good potential trades out there.
Okay, but what position do you think immediately can be helped? You know what? Would be nice? A tight end.
Tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did an article today on potential trades, and tight end was one of my positions because it's freaking killing us. I mean, Pat Freiermuth is Kenny Pickett's one of his favorite targets. Do you know what I mean? So maybe you look at somebody who can block a little bit, somebody who can catch a little bit, and they don't have to be Pat Freiermuth level, but just above Connor Hayward level. Because clearly,
well, I mean, don't we already have that in Darnell Washington?
Where's apparently not ready yet? Because why aren't we using him?
Right.
He
which
must
killed
not be
me
ready.
Because they used him in camp so much, LeeAnn, and I mean, it was clearly evident when he and I told Joe this a couple times. He caught the ball and he started heading upfield, and nobody wanted anything to do with him. I mean, he's him throwing him anything. Now, I'm not at every practice. Maybe he's been dropping the ball a lot.
It's very possible that he's just not ready. It seems that way.
Otherwise, you'd be using him.
Yeah, it's just some people take a little bit longer to get ready. Yeah. I think he's just not ready. Otherwise, they would unleash hell because he is.
Yeah, right. At least Joey Porter now. Do you know what I mean? As resistant as Tomlin was in the beginning. Do you know what I mean? Now he said today that you'll see Joey Porter playing more and more. Starting and so to me, I think if with the injuries, it makes sense that Washington would come in. So if he's not coming in, then he's got to be not ready.
Yeah, but even then, it's we're almost desperate at this point, right? For somebody to make plays at the tight end position, and it's how do you get a guy ready if you don't play him at all? I know there's practice, but nothing simulates game action like game action.
But you
So
also
to me,
can
it's
ruin
like,
them if you put them in too much and it's really not good. You know what I mean? Players get ruined all the time coming playing too soon, and some of them never
Okay.
recover.
But Darnell Washington is 6'7", 265, and not to
huge.
borrow a pro wrestling phrase, but you can't teach that.
No,
Here's a
he's
crazy
huge.
idea. Have him go out a couple yards, turn around, and stand there. And I dare, who's going to cover him? Not what, some little 5'11", 185 pound
Right.
dude. They would just bounce off him. Just have him
Right.
stand there, for goodness sake.
Right.
I'm not saying have him know the entire offense and every single play and stuff like that, but turn around and just stand there and catch the ball. That's how hard is that?
The fact that he's not playing, though, it just keeps in my head. It just keeps saying there's some reasons. You know what I mean? Whatever that reason is, there's some reason, because you're right. You can't teach size, and he's got it in spades. So why wouldn't you utilize him for blocking, for freaking something? There's got to be a reason.
Just dumb it the bleep down for him. My goodness.
To Joe's point too, is maybe it's not even so much Darnell Washington that, if you watched some of the games yesterday, and one of the common patterns that a lot of the successful NFL offenses do is like a crossing pattern in the end zone. We don't run that at all. I mean, the Dolphins will take Waddle, they'll take Tyreek Hill, and they'll go this way, and they'll run the tight end in the slot. I mean, we don't do any of that. So I don't know. I mean, I guess. Yeah, I'd like to see him too, Joe. But to LeeAnn's point, I mean, he's not seeing any action, so there must be something there. And I am willing to trust a guy like Mike Tomlin enough to know that maybe there's nothing there. Now, you look at what the Steelers have done with on Joey Porter Jr. They went from he's not ready yet to he was playing more, and you know what? That missed tackle a couple weeks ago showed us what they were saying. Okay, he's not ready; he could be better at it, but they've been throwing him more back in there, and he's been making the tackles. He made a key one yesterday. So, to me,
I'm going to be a starter.
Pretty much right
and
in
now
the
he's a starter.
Side pocket. If LeeAnn was driving a motorcycle, I'm in the sidecar. But if Joe's driving a motorcycle, I'm probably riding behind him because I'm with Joe. Like, get him in there at least. Let's get in the red zone. Put him in the red zone.
Yeah. And there's nothing too dumbed down. Like Joe said, dumb it down for him. It's Matt Canada's offense. You can't get any down, right? So it's like, man, if that
the whole thing is in crayon anyway. Yeah, what?
Exactly. Yes.
But hey, to their credit, they came out today and said Joey Porter Jr. is a starter. So. Hey.
I will say Porter also has a pedigree that Washington and some of these other rookies don't come with.
Doubt.
Do you know what I mean? I think that really does count for something as far as poise and, confidence and all of those things, grit and determination. I think, he's got that, which is something that other rookies don't come with.
Right.
Well, and I feel that this team's good enough that they, right now they're sitting at a 3.5-point favorite, which if it wasn't Tennessee, I don't think they would be. But, they're good enough to beat Tennessee, and they should beat Tennessee. And we'll be back here again in another week, and they're 5-3 and not sitting too bad. But I just that's the thing. I think that's the frustration. It's like we're just so close to being a solid team.
Yeah.
If this offense could just do a little bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be.
My concern is Will Levis. Like 4 touchdowns, right? And that's oftentimes it has to do with the fact that he's never played a pro game before, right? So nobody has any tape on him professionally.
And now they do.
Tape. Now they do, but it's the Steelers secondary is awful.
There's 2 scenarios here. The Steelers' defense against rookie quarterbacks is really good.
It is good, yeah.
I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say Will Levis isn't throwing for 4 touchdowns against the Steelers. Maybe 3, but not 4. But I think they're going to expose him. He's a rookie. Now we have stuff on tape. I know it's also a short week. It's also a short week, so there's basically no practicing going on. Very little.
Yeah, Wednesday. That's
it.
The
it. Like
Steelers
Wednesday
tend
and
to come
maybe
back
walk.
angry from a loss like that. I think that works in our favor. Do you know what I mean? I thought we did some interesting stuff in the secondary against the Rams where we were moving Patrick Peterson into like every position on the field at some point. I thought that was kind of interesting. Maybe we can get something like that going again. Do you know what I mean? I think they're going to have to make that defense be interesting to be able to compete against him. But, Will Levis hasn't played, even though their secondary has been a little Swiss cheesy, he hasn't quite played a defense like ours. And I think that speaks for something, hopefully to kind of control some of that touchdown action.
When he was at Penn State, one of the frustrations the coaching staff had with him there is he would take to the run a little bit too quick. And he's a big guy, and he's actually fairly athletic. And then when he goes to Kentucky, he was actually pretty impressive there too. But I always find that college is so much different than – and Joe, you and I talked about this earlier in the year with running college quarterbacks, because he could hurt you with his legs and his arm at Kentucky, and he had a pretty good season. But, the Colts found out hard. Anthony Richardson didn't listen. When they told him, you need to stop running, he's gone for the year. I mean, you can't run like you can run in college. And I kind of feel that he's going to get to the pressure. I bet if you watch Thursday, he's going to run a lot or try to, and it's not going to go as well. It's just there's so much difference in the speed.
Well, basically, Will Levis's philosophy was, screw it. DeAndre Hopkins is out there somewhere. I'm just going to throw it. and DeAndre Hopkins is like, thank you very much. I will do that. I mean, he's not in his prime, but still DeAndre Hopkins is pretty good. So hopefully the Steelers will figure out, it's like, oh, I think he's going to try to throw to that guy. So maybe we should cover him or something.
You were saying a minute ago, though, Darren, about, the Steelers potentially winning this game and being 5-3 and then thinking like, oh, we're not in such a bad place right now. And I was going to say, I think to your point, but for me, it's going to be about what does that win look like? Do you know what I mean? Right. Is this a Cleveland Browns win? Is this a win where we look like we made a step up from where we were against the Rams and we look like we're coming together as an offense? Like, I keep thinking of, what I kept saying about this past weekend was that if I saw like a progression over the Rams, like some minor improvement, you know what I mean? Like I would be happy with that. But instead it looked like we took all these steps backwards. And so, if we win, what do you have to see to feel like we don't look so bad? Something better than what we saw last weekend for sure.
No, it's a great point. It's got to be like a 38-3. Dallas put up 33 points against the Rams in the first half last week.
They're going to strain for the old-fashioned butt whooping.
Yeah, But I mean, that's the point. They were running that graphic yesterday. It's been 53 games since we've had 400 yards of total offense. I mean, the Steelers have never been this 45-point, 38-point team, but a 35-10 win, I'd feel better. Kenny Pickett throws 3 touchdown passes. What was good about that Rams was we had 3 rushing touchdowns, Pickett. And both.
Nas and Warren.
That was the first time. That was like the first time in like 2 years we had more than 1 rushing touchdown. I mean, oh my God. And that's what I mean by all these stats don't add up good for Matt Canada. I mean, it's such a reflection of his poor planning and poor execution that, we're on a 53-game streak. And I don't think it's going to go to 55 or end there next week. I don't think they're getting 400 yards on Thursday, but yeah, that's what I would like to see. And that's what we'd all like to see. Just go win a game 27-10, 28-14, whatever. But they just, it'll probably be 21-18 or 20.
This game has 13-12 written all over it. I don't know who's coming out with the 13. This game has, I'm sorry, LeeAnn.
I agree. I think it's going to be a low scoring, ugly game.
Yeah, I think you're going to see some ugly football. I see 2 scenarios. I think no matter what, I think Will Levis is going to be quote unquote exposed. Kind of like the Bears. The Bears, that dude, Badgett or whatever, he looked awesome his first game. And then, and then they saw us like, oh, okay, we see what you're doing. We could easily stop that.
We got your number.
Yeah, we got your number. But I see 2 scenarios. One where Mitch plays and one where Kenny plays. And I have a feeling if Kenny plays, it's going to go real bad because the dude is going to play hurt. And Kenny Pickett at full strength isn't that good. Kenny Pickett hurts. Oh God. I'm I shudder to think how bad it's going to get.
Yeah.
Well, and that's right.
Right.
I mean, that's a good point because there was times where Ben was hurt or whoever was hurt, and we're like, hey, we'll just feed it to Bettis. We'll feed it to, Bell. We'll feed it. And I mean, God, our running backs have been marginal at best.
But
And
whenever
trust Ben to be able to say, like, here, I'm hurt, I'm this hurt. Do you know what I mean? I can't play, I can't play. Kenny's gonna say he can play no matter what.
Whenever Ben played Hurts, it was always bad because
Yes.
he wasn't anywhere near 100%. But he's like, hey, I'm gonna have to go out there. I'm gonna go out there for my team, and that is admirable. That's admirable.
Yeah.
He's not Deshaun Watsoning it, but it was always bad when Ben did that and he was too hurt. It was almost always a loss because he came back too soon. I just have a feeling a hurt Kenny isn't going to be any good.
I thought about that today. Tomlin said it during his press conference. They asked about, making the decision for Kenny, and he was saying Wednesday's the day and they're going to evaluate. And they said, are you looking for a medical report or are you looking to see something from Kenny? And he kind of indicated it was both. You know what I mean? He indicated that he feels like Kenny was going to want to play no matter what, obviously. And you've got to be able to see that he's willing to do that. But my immediate thought was all the times that I felt like Ben played when he probably shouldn't have. Do you know what I mean? And we let him play. So are we really going to say no to Kenny if he says he can? I mean, if he's medically cleared, you know what I mean? Are they really going to say no to him? And is that really worse than Mitch Trubisky?
If this were Sunday,
so terrible.
If they're playing Tennessee at Sunday, I think he plays. I just don't think with a short turnaround they're going to let him play.
I don't think he's going to play. I think they're just saying it so that Tennessee doesn't know yet what's going on. I think it's just to keep him wondering, prepping for both quarterbacks or whatever.
Yeah, Mitch took some sacks, but you know what? He looked better in the pocket, and he looked better running.
That's because he takes off like a madman about Eddie at the drop of a hat. I mean, he's like, he looks like Tecmo Boy. He's like, doing this way. He's going that way. And, I mean, it's
eyes on him, and he just starts running.
Yeah.
You get two Mitches. You get either good Mitch or bad Mitch.
Yeah.
And now he basically explained why we got bad Mitch, why we throw into triple coverage to Allen freaking Robinson. What the heck was that? It's basically because he tried to put he tried to do too much. He put the whole team on his shoulders as like, I will win this game for us, and try to magically get that magic 10 point touchdown or something like that. And he did too much, and he admitted. But I mean, hey, this is a dude that beat Tom Brady. I think Mitch Trubisky, with just starting a game, I think he could maybe be okay. And I don't respect Tennessee.
If Najee was sitting at like 6 touchdowns this year and 500 or 600 yards rushing, I'd agree. But my worry is you send him out there, you really would like him just to hand that ball off and hope that those guys could tote the rock, and that's what you need. And hopefully they get it. I don't know. That's why Trent Brown is a guy I'd really like to see them bring in. I think he's a great tackle. It's the kind of guy they need. We'll see what happens.
So who would he replace?
Well, you put him on. Yeah.
Okay.
I give him a shot at. I mean, at this point, you got to make something work. I mean, if he goes out there and starts busting guys on the line, and clears a hole for Najee and these guys to run, why not give it a shot?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I get it. Who's going to replace some of those guys have earned it, but
but earning is relative. Football's a week-to-week thing. You have to keep earning it. You don't just earn it in camp and then it's carte blanche for the year. You get all the time. You have to keep earning it. And as far as I'm concerned, they're not earning it. Not one of them. Do you know what I mean? The offensive line, at any point, every one of them looks mediocre at best. And I don't know. I don't think that earning it is enough. You got to do something to maintain it.
Was that last year that, a couple games in where Mike Tomlin said, trust me, every position's open right now with the offensive line. He's so angry, and that's the thing too. Like, I like Mike Tomlin. I think it's time for him to go, but he's been frustrated. I mean, you can tell it's getting him. You just tell. He ripped in that lady ref yesterday, and he should have. I mean, she deserved it.
all the refs. I mean,
Oh,
okay,
just
I saved the
right.
best for last.
She was
Let's
just
talk
the
about
one that
these
was
refs.
right there. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, she
right.
took the brunt of it.
yeah, right.
Mhm.
But my goodness, I've heard it called the worst refereed game in the history of football. Definitely the worst refereed game of this year.
Mhm.
Deontay Johnson just went off, and good for him.
Yeah.
By the way, when they asked Tomlin about it today, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't heard the comments.
Right.
Bro,
Because he doesn't want
don't
to be fined.
don't do
He's
that
not
to
going to get
us.
involved in that. He
Right.
can't say anything.
No.
No. And that's
Nope.
tough for me because I spend week to week. I mean, almost every week on the show, we tell people where they can go on the PIAA website to register to be an official, because this year, at least the area I cover, they actually mandated that high schools split some games between Fridays and Saturdays because of the referee shortage. And last weekend was particularly bad. You had an incident down there near you, Joe, where they had to bring the police in because the refs went after, or the fans went after the referees. I think it may have been like, I don't know if it's Blackhawk, somewhere down there. And then it happened also like up in Central PA in a Jersey Shore game. And we see it constantly. And I'm always the first guy saying, yeah, okay, every ref makes a bad call. They were making things on Sunday that were just, I mean, Alan Eck had no clue what his, I mean,
They were inventing things.
They didn't understand.
It was like inventing things.
And if that's, and I tweeted this earlier, if it's 2 weeks in a row now that the NFL has to come out and apologize for officiating, that's 2 weeks too many, because now when you're in the NFL, it's the top of the top. You are supposed to be the best of your best, just like the players are. And if you're going to be like that, because he came from the Big 12, and
He's terrible.
It was not good. They did not cost the Steelers a game. They did not.
No.
But it was close.
Sure as heck didn't help. Right.
I definitely feel like they had a huge impact. And this is my thing about refereeing at any level. You should not be making calls that influence the game that significantly. Do you know what I mean? You should be calling the game fairly. You should be calling the game evenly. Like, I wouldn't have had such an issue with with the roughing the passer call, although I thought it was weak, the one on Trevor Lawrence, if they had called it with the same energy against Kenny Pickett. Do you know what I mean? So you have to call the game on both sides with the same energy, and you shouldn't be making calls that are iffy and influence the game. And that's what I felt like they did. Like, if we had that 3 points from that field goal, that doesn't win us the game, but does it change your decision-making process down the road? Yes, substantially. You know what I mean? Then it's a 1-score game, and it's a different situation. And I just felt like, I wouldn't say they cost us the game, but I definitely feel like they influenced it substantially, more than they should have the power to.
Darren, you mentioned the Colts Browns game, where basically the refs handed the game to the Colts. I mean, to the Browns, and then
Commanders game yesterday.
What's that?
It was awful too. The Commanders game yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The Colts owner Irsay basically said the quiet part out loud, something he shouldn't. They didn't want him to say. He's like, oh yeah, the refs told me that they blew that and stuff. One of the things that bothers me is there is no accountability. There is no maybe. We won't even get that. We won't even get a hey, we screwed up. It's not like Rooney's going to say, "Oh yeah, the refs told me they screwed up." No, it's like, no, we're not going to get any of that. There is zero accountability. There is no like, "Hey, you guys were so bad that we're just not even. We're not. You're done. You're suspended or something like that." Nothing. They don't get punished at all. And if they do, we have no idea what this punishment is. That's one thing that drives me crazy. Another thing is, this can be easily fixed or at least improved with technology. When we look at a play, almost every single play, when we're watching it on TV, is replayed. It's there, right there. And we know immediately whether they screwed up or not.
Yeah.
Within 30 seconds. I'm not saying review every play and take 5-10 minutes and review every blade of grass. I'm saying, when it's obvious, you got 30 seconds. Figure it out. You can know within 30 seconds. Sometimes within 10 or 15 seconds. Oh crap, they screwed this up. Let's reverse this. It's that simple, and it would not add time to the game or the broadcast or whatever. You do it with a quick judgment. They could easily do something
There's
like that.
already people sitting there watching. It's not. It wouldn't be hard to incorporate something in where you flag it from New York or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
I love how the NHL does it. If it's something major like that, it goes to Toronto. It's reviewed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it just, and when you sit there and you go back and they're sitting there and they're having this meeting of the minds and somewhere at the 30-yard line of like, what did you see? Well, what did you think? What do you think the rule is? I mean, that's Alan Eck's job as the head official he's the guy that should say, this is what the rule is. Did they violate it or not? Okay, they did. Then, when they're sitting there fumbling around like, well, I don't know. What's your opinion? It's just,
the offside thing.
I just don't. Sorry, Joe. To LeeAnn's point, I just don't think they should impact the outcome of a game like that. Or have as much of an impact, I guess.
And then they're just making up stuff. That whole offside thing.
Yeah.
Well,
what on earth was that?
I've never heard a coach say, I've never heard of that before. Like in my 17 years of standing on the sideline, I've never even seen that. I've never heard a coach say that.
And it was the Jacksonville player that actually was offside.
Yeah. Did you see Chris Boswell's Instagram photos? Where he posted on Instagram the two pictures, and it was the Jacksonville player that was offsides. It's like, oh, I guess all those black helmets look the same, or what? Like, what the heck?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what the punishment is for Deontay Johnson. I hope it's not a suspension. If he gets suspended, I think there might be a riot.
We need to.
I'm sure on Thursday. I've always said if they fine him $48,000 and Thursday, they take up a collection from Steeler fans. They'll pay it. Because the 50-50 gets to like 80 grand. So
there you go. Have the 50-50 just go to
that you can't even complain. Like, what kind of garbage is that? I'm not talking about like excessive complaining, but you should be able to speak up about that. I mean, that's some like, World War II communist era garbage where you can't say anything or you'll get whipped.
That's why Tomlin just sidestepped the whole thing and said, "Oh, I don't even. I didn't hear the comments." He knows.
Wait, what? No matter what he says, it doesn't matter. So why even say it?
Yeah.
I think that's one thing, and I guess in a way I admire him for it. Another time you roll your eyes, but he never wants to feed into anything that might lead to an excuse as to why they may have lost the game, other than it being on themselves. And I can admire that.
I appreciate that.
Because he's done it for 17 years. It's not like 1 year he's like this. He's pretty true to his deal. It's not like the old days when Bill Parcells would just come right out and tell you, they effed us or whatever.
You never hear a coach complain about the officials. You never through every team. Well, not now. So
when we grew up, Parcells, Ditka, those guys would come right out.
Oh yeah, they'd throw them under the bus in a minute.
Yeah.
But there wasn't social media back then. There wasn't, some Steelers Wire contributor sitting at her desk waiting for the news to come down. You know what I mean? Waiting for him to say post it in 5 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, it's different times now for sure.
You journalists, I don't know whether they're killing this kid that covers Pitt because he didn't cover Narduzzi threw his players under the bus, and they're killing the poor reporter because he didn't do the full quotes. Like, it doesn't matter. That was horrible. Dude, you threw your kids under the bus. But anyway,
that was bad.
That was like I don't think there's any.
I think the Narduzzi era has come to an end. I don't.
It needs to come to an end. That's a sure sign that the time has passed you by. You're too angry. You need to go.
Is he an offensive guy? Can he come to Pittsburgh?
No, he was a defensive guy.
He's a defensive guy, and
I like Allison's. I like Allison's thought process.
There you go. I could. Why not?
Let's talk about this.
Yep.
I mean, that could be why they brought Matt Canada as offensive coordinator, because he was working in the same building. It's like, hey, we'll make it real easy, bro. We'll just move down the hall. Maybe it's that. I mean, that's
I think it just grinds my gears that like we could have had Eric Bieniemy. He's sitting over there in Washington right now. I don't care. Again, take up a collection. We all would have paid Canada's salary off. And if Eric Bieniemy would have been here, then I would love to see that. That's what I'm saying too. With Kenny, I believe in Kenny Pickett enough that I would like to see what would happen under a new regime.
Yeah,
That's the
I
thing.
agree.
This is a worst case scenario. We've wasted 2 years of Kenny Pickett's career. We got this dude on a rookie contract. There's going to come a time in a year or two where we're going to have to decide, hey, do we want this guy or not? And we don't even know if he's any good because of this whole situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then he's going to go somewhere like, Seattle or Indianapolis and start tearing it up, and, we're going to buy it.
He's going to Kirk Cousins us.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Same thing's going to happen with Naj, though, too. We're not going to re-sign him. He's going to go wherever.
I don't think Naj wants to
and run all over the place.
I think Naj, if I'm Naj, I'm kind of looking like, hey, I'm pretty healthy. It's not been a great 3 or 4 years here. I need somewhere new.
Right.
I fully expect Naj not to be here when he's done.
Yeah, he's not going to want to stay.
No, I don't think so.
No, that was.
Then you look at it. Well, now I got to start with a new offense, and now he's going to look like he's in the prime. I think he's gone.
Poor dude got
my
screwed.
concern about the offensive coordinator is that we do have these weapons right now. We're not, bringing the Legos together properly, but we do have all these pieces, and we're not using them. So what happens when the pieces start dropping off, and you don't have, like Joe said, you don't know what Kenny can do. You lose a Naj, you lose Pat Fryermuth, you lose Deontay Johnson, you lose whoever, and then what? Then you're starting all over again with a new receiver, a new running back, a new tight end, a new offensive coordinator. Like, get this show on the road, folks.
Yeah, but it was the same thing though with the Killer Bees. You know what I mean? Like with Ben, Bell, and Brown, we had 3 of like the top talents in the NFL and had nothing to show for it. So unfortunately, it sort of seems like it's a Pittsburgh thing. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
According to my sources, Google, it says his Matt Cannon's salary is $1.5 million.
Yeah,
guys,
like 1.4.
You could throw away $1.5 million. Yeah, that's too much.
And well, to LeeAnn's point and Allison's point, in the NFL, it's not too much.
It is not. Right. It's really not that much.
Small beans.
I mean, Tomlin's making
it's
$10
only
million
half that now, right? I mean, because we're halfway through the season.
I want to know.
We can come up with $500,000,
$750,000.
That's what Joe pays us, is close to that for the podcast,
right? Yeah, exactly.
If we just pull together
from Joe's podcast,
all the massive money we make from this podcast, and I give to you guys, we could just we could buy out My Canada.
Right?
That's right.
I've lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
What is a realistic scenario for Tomlin to be done? I
don't think there is one.
I don't think there is one. Just remember in the late 90s, there were 3 years that the Steelers went under 500 in the late 90s. And they kept extending Cowher's contract.
Yeah.
Tomlin hasn't had one losing season.
Right.
I don't see them letting Tomlin go. I don't see it.
No. The only thing I could see there is, I think Omar Khan doesn't have that, he doesn't have that, I guess, Pittsburgh part of him. I could easily say him, hey, what do you think about letting Tomlin loose? But any other city, Joe, I think it'd be time to move on. But
here's
the Steelers.
Here's a scenario. But wait a minute. Here's a scenario. Okay. So right now he is signed through next season. And that's it. And then every year, almost every time his contract is almost up, either with 1 year or 2 years left, they say, okay, now we'll extend it. What if they say to him, hey man, I don't know, this was a really bad season. I think we're just going to wait it out and see, how you do after 2024. Yeah. And what if he says, you know what, screw you. I think I deserve better than that. It's like, okay, well, this isn't working out, then maybe you should leave. I can see a scenario like that. And in that case, maybe they could trade him.
I don't know if they could trade him, but the one thing that dichotomy kills me, Joe, I think I told you a story. My professional background is a sports background as well. I work with, a lot of stadiums and stuff like that. And in fact, tomorrow morning, I'll have to be at Acrisure Stadium at like 9 a.m. But I was in Iowa, and we had a conference of all the people who do what I do across the country. And they all say to me, I'd kill to have Mike Tomlin, like the Bear fan.
Yeah.
I mean, they all do. And when
Yeah,
I
I
tell
do.
them, well, honestly, in Pittsburgh, it's kind of 50-50. I mean, there's that love him and there's
Mhm.
ready. How could you be ready? He's never had a. Actually, if you peel
That
it
only
back,
goes so
his
far, right?
stats,
The
his
non-losing
stats
season
aren't as
thing.
good. But yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
and that's the thing, Joe. I think I agree with you to a point. I think he could be arrogant, and I don't think he would be this way, but he could be arrogant enough on the inside to say, fine, because if I'm done on December 31st next year, I'll have a
Mhm.
job by January 8th, whatever it may be.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
Right.
He would.
Yeah.
And he would. I mean,
100%.
anybody, the
Mhm.
Saints, anybody, he'd be
It
gone.
would be insane. It's like, how can you get rid of a guy that's never had a losing season? But what are we going to do? What are we going to do with 9-8 every damn year?
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Enough.
It's like,
I call it Andy Reid disease. Andy Reid is a good coach, and he's always been a good coach, but he was at Philadelphia for years and years and years, and it was very obvious, hey, it's never going to work here. You're going to have to go
Mhm.
somewhere else. We know you're good. It's just not working here.
Right.
At some point, you might have to say, and you know
Yeah.
what? And maybe Kenny Pickett just isn't good. We have to accept that scenario too. I don't
yeah.
know. I
Ask
don't know.
Titans fans or Rams fans about Jeff Fisher, 500 Fisher. I
Yeah.
mean, he's another guy. They always
8-8 every year.
Yep.
Mhm.
Like
And
you can't, it's hard. You can't always recreate the magic. You know what I mean? And teams try to do that too. Bring in some coach that was highly successful somewhere. Or look at Washington. They brought back Joe Gibbs. I mean, like you can't bring back the magic. Like get over yourself. So I mean, I agree. I think Mike Tomlin would get hired in a heartbeat the minute he left, whether he left or was fired from Pittsburgh. I think the bigger question is, well, what does that replacement look like? And I think that's what makes me hang on to Tomlin a little bit tighter is not the fear of the unknown, but the
It could be worse,
it could
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
very well be worse. You know what
but
I mean?
it could be
If
better.
the Steelers don't spend a ton of money, who are we bringing in?
But it could be better.
Maybe.
Yeah. July 9th is Jeff Fisher Day because every year he went 7-9.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, terrible.
So what's so
Well,
9-8. So
September
September
8th
8th
would be Mike Tomlin Day.
every year, Mike Tomlin Day.
but I think that's to the point, like, of all of my coworkers, look how many coaches the Bears have gone through, and the Jets and the Giants, and all these guys, and they'd be like, they love the fact that he's been here for 17 years, that he's done what he's done here. So
When you
yeah,
say
Mike Tomlin, if he goes to the Jets, I'm sorry, it's New York. He wouldn't be there this long, and he needs to,
No.
that's New York.
I guarantee if and when he goes to another team, all they're going to talk about is like, oh my God, he's so good. We love him so much. He's such a great coach. We love him so much. It's like, okay, cool. Good.
Right.
Yeah. He's, what, it's been almost 17 years now. It's like, okay, yeah, thank you for your service. Good luck.
I think you forget in that 17 years, a little bit to LeeAnn's point, is the fear of it maybe, or you hold on to him a little longer, but he was a defensive backs coach with the Vikings and with the Bucks. So it's like, who's this guy? I mean, if Eric Bieniemy hadn't done what he'd done in college, he probably wouldn't have the name that he did. But man, if Eric Bieniemy, I'd love to see Eric Bieniemy give a shot. But there's probably going to be a guy that we really haven't heard of, or most likely haven't heard of, would be the guy. I don't think you're going to go get like a marquee name.
They're going to get a kid just like they did with Tomlin, just like
like
they did with because I think that's a thing. Exactly. But I think that's their thing, because remember,
it is
when Tomlin was hired, that was originally supposed to be Russ Grimm. That was a thing.
Yeah,
they were just going to have Russ Grimm be the coach, and then they changed their mind because it's like, ooh, we got this young guy. He could be the next Chuck Noll. He could be the next Bill Cowher, and we could keep this going for another 20 years or whatever. And he's so young. Maybe they'll probably do the same thing again. Some like 30-some-year-old dude, and
Chuck Noll.
You've got to hold out a little bit of hope. You have to hold out a little bit of hope that maybe they'll Maybe they'll do something. I mean, it's not going to be like some huge name that we're going to have to pay trillions of dollars to, but you would think that they would maybe learn from their past mistakes. I mean, there's
Bill
nobody.
Belichick.
You had Chuck Noll, you had Bill
Right.
Cowher, and you had Mike Tomlin, who all won Super Bowls. What other team
Bill
can say that?
Belichick
Right.
for Steelers
Yeah.
coach.
Oh,
Let's
No.
do it.
no,
Let's
thank
go.
I'm just talking about. I'm just talking about offensive coordinator.
I guarantee you.
offensive
I'm still going back
coordinator,
to
yeah.
Matt Canada. Like,
Yeah.
we need to bring
Okay.
in somebody who has some kind of reputation of
Do you
winning.
remember a few years ago when everybody that was near Sean McVay got a head coaching job? Remember
Mhm,
that?
yeah.
It's like, oh, he delivered pizza to Sean McVay. He's our new coach.
Right.
Right.
Now it's Kyle Shanahan. Anybody that's
Yeah.
related to the 49ers is gonna get a
Right.
job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just for even offensive coordinator, whatever. Just
Mhm.
get anybody.
I'd be with the ladies on that. I'd like to keep Mike Tomlin around and see what a new OC could do. But
Yeah.
I mean, I
Mhm.
think you need to clean house at some level, and there's two ways to clean. You either clean house pretty heavily, which means you get rid of the offensive staff or whatever, and you keep the head coach, or you totally clean house. And
Yeah.
I don't think
Right.
they totally clean house. I would say
No.
I bet
No,
you
that's
Tomlin gets
exactly.
another. Yeah.
That's what happened with. I think that's what happened with Chuck Noll, because Chuck Noll had some really bad seasons in the 80s, and I think some of his power was stripped. And it's like, hey, okay, you can stick around,
Yeah.
but you're gonna get all new coordinators because this isn't
Mhm.
working. So I
This
could
isn't
totally
working.
see that happening, and I could totally see maybe, because really, forget Terrell Austin. Really, Mike Tomlin is the actual defensive coordinator.
Defensive
Maybe
coordinator,
they bring in an actual defensive coordinator and
Right.
strip some of Tomlin's powers. I don't know.
But the hard thing about this, when you have a defensive coach like Tomlin, is that you need this strong, like, offensive mastermind on the other side of the ball to be able to, like, balance that out. But in the 2023 NFL, if you find that strong mastermind who runs this great offense, in a year he's going to be getting offered a head coaching job at some crappy team. Do you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
getting
You know what?
blown away.
And
Who's
that's
going to say
fine.
no to that? Who's going
That's
to say no?
fine. Look, hey, Kyle Shanahan goes through dudes every single year,
But
and
he's
he just
also,
finds new ones.
yeah,
He
but
does.
he's also more in charge, I think, than
He's
Tomlin is.
He is.
He's more offensive than Tomlin is. So, I mean, you got to find line there. You got to find somebody that's good enough for you to run an offense to win, but not so good that he gets poached every single year. And that's a
Mhm.
fine line.
Yep.
We're at the crossroads. We're at a pretty big crossroads with this team.
Mhm.
I agree, and I never thought of this scenario, but like when I was on somebody's podcast before the year, and they said, well, what if Kenny Pickett isn't any good? I'm like, that's ridiculous. But if he does fail, it would be all Matt Canada's fault, and they would get rid of him and bring in a new offensive coordinator, and probably Tomlin will just will not get any damage from it at all, because it'll be all on Matt Canada. So that's probably what's going to happen.
We have to start with Matt Canada. I'm not ready to, like, throw anybody else out with the bathwater until we get rid of Canada and see what a difference that makes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, even if you use this last game as a barometer, again, or this season, I mean, 211 yards. The stats don't lie too much. They can misguide you a little bit, but the stats are pretty strongly in favor of him not knowing what he's doing. I'm not saying that to be jerky. I mean it. Just 211 yards of total offense. I mean, Deontay Johnson had 9 catches for 85 yards. He was the best player we had yesterday. He still dropped the ball twice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like you can't bring anybody together. The offensive line has no idea what they're doing. It's just, yeah. I mean, that's where the problem is. I mean, if our defense stunk, we'd be the Carolina Panthers. We'd be 0-6.
Right.
When you have multiple people saying how predictable the offense is, and you have national people saying how terrible it is, and not just blowhards, but actually people that analyze this stuff.
Yeah.
It's a bad look. There's something there. There's something there. It's not just us, being cute and saying fire Canada. There actually is something there.
Yeah.
I would love to say that I feel better after venting. Now I'm even more angry.
Yeah. Yeah.
and snow's coming, and it better be good
Snow's
weather for LeeAnn.
Is it going to snow?
I
That
don't
makes
think
me
so.
kind of
right
excited.
here, but
It's
tonight,
gonna get pretty frosty tomorrow. Yeah,
it's gonna be frosty, but there's not gonna be any accumulation of snow.
Oh.
But
you want to see snow, don't you, LeeAnn? You want to see
Yeah,
you Florida
I really
people want to
do.
see snow.
I
You
kind
want to
of been
make
like praying that we'd get a little early snow while I'm up there this week. I knew it was unlikely. It's really early, but I was hoping.
see,
I
half
take a little
of my
bit.
wife's family lives. I think some of them actually live near you there because you're in Tampa, right? Or near or you're
Allison's
in
in
Tampa.
Allison
She's on the
Tampa.
other side.
I'm in South
Allison's the
Florida.
other side, right? Well, my half of them are on Cocoa Beach. The other half are over in Land or not Land O'Lakes. I can't think of it, but anyway, they have a Pittsburgh box. So like when
Yeah,
they come up
right.
here, it's time to get the Pittsburgh box out, which means jackets, hats,
Right.
snow
Yeah.
pants, stuff. I mean, they'll leave
I've
stuff
got
here.
one
We have the Florida box. It's not warm clothes. It's for people who come from Pittsburgh up to Florida that need the Pittsburgh clothes.
Right.
So yeah.
LeeAnn, this is the biggest question of this whole thing. When you go to games, how do the Steelers do? Do they usually win?
Steelers have actually
What's your
always
record,
won
LeeAnn?
every game I've gone to. Almost every game I've gone to. I think there's 2 that they've lost in my life, and I've been to a lot of games, and including a Super Bowl and several playoff wins. Yeah, I'm actually a little bit of a good luck charm.
Okay.
So I don't want to brag because I always, when I run my mouth, we do poorly and then I'm humiliated. So I'm not quite bragging, but I will say that like historically, we did have one really bad playoff loss against Tom Brady. I was there at Heinz, and we lost a game to the Ravens one time in Pittsburgh. But even when I travel, I've been to Baltimore, I've been to Cleveland. Allison and I were in Atlanta. We usually do pretty well. So
yeah,
I just bet the house on the Steelers. You're the good luck.
Yeah. I'm going
that's
with
it.
my friend Tracy. So if we lose, it's definitely Tracy's fault and not
I
mine.
already made the bet. So why didn't you tell me that? Oh, I have to reverse it. All right. I hope you have safe travels. I hope you are the good luck charm. I have a feeling.
So.
I believe in that stuff. I believe that.
Oh,
that
I do too. I'm superstitious.
Yeah. So no trust. Could you tell your friend not to show up or something? Your bad luck friend.
Sorry, I
Tracy.
have to get you a ticket.
It could. All right, guys. Thanks so much. This was
Bye, guys.
awesome.
Thank you.
Safe
All right.
travels,
Bye, guys.
LeeAnn.
Thanks.
Go
See you
Steelers.
guys.
See you.